Airport security, aka TSA, we have a very interesting relationship, but probably not the kind of relationship you're thinking about. They strip me down to my tidy whities and feel me up. I love TSA, and they love me. I was flying to San Francisco this past weekend. I get to the airport about an hour early. I go to the self-check-in. I get over to TSA and I look down, and the company that's sending me on this trip put my middle name, not my first name. Whenever your photo ID and your boarding pass don't have the same exact first name, but have the same last name, they write quad S on it, it's 4 S's. They pretty much just strip you down naked in front of everybody whenever that happens. And they let you go. Knowing that I didn't have quad S written on my pass, I'm like, okay, let me size up all these TSA agents in all these lanes. Okay, white guy, old white lady, black guy. I go down the lane, wait in line, I get up to the black guy, and I hand him my ID, and I hand him my boarding pass, and he's looking at it, and he's like, who is this? I'm like, oh, that's me, but that's my middle name. They put my middle name on the boarding pass, and he hands it back to me. He's like, okay, well, go get him to change it, because I can't let you pass if these names don't match up. I'm like, bro, I know, I promise you this is me. They let me fly last week, but, you know, I just need to get on through. And he's like, all right, well, we changed some stuff since last week. You gotta go get it changed. Cool story, bro. Okay, I'll get it changed. Go back over to Delta, and I'm explaining to everybody, like, listen, quad S, I did this last week. This happens from time to time. It's really me. Can you just write quad S on this thing? The lady I'm talking to is just like, no, I can't do that. Actually, go down to guest services for Delta, and they'll take care of you. Go over to guest services, and the lady there is just like, okay, it's gonna cost $150 to change it, and then a $50 fee for absolutely no reason whatsoever. So you're looking at about $200 just to change it, and it looks like you booked it through Expedia, and it wasn't you, it was somebody else, so actually they have to call and get your name fixed. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm probably not gonna get anybody from that company on the phone. She's like, well, what you could do is just go back over to TSA and tell them that you lost your ID. They'll make you fill out a form, and they'll ask you like 2 or 3 questions, and they'll let you on the plane. Awesome, thank you very much, ma'am. You know, she was looking out for me, cool. Grab all my stuff, walk around the corner, looking around, okay, take my ID out of my wallet, and stuff it in my clipboard. And I lifted the clipboard and stuffed my ID down in there, flipped it down, put more papers on top of it, boom. As I'm waiting in line to go back through TSA, I realized I'm not a good liar, because I don't really do it. I am painfully honest when it comes to pretty much all things. So I go up there and I hand him my boarding pass, and I'm like, sir, I have misplaced my identification. Okay, hold on one second. Not yet. Another guy comes over. So I got these 2 guys now, and they're looking and blah, blah, blah. So what's the problem? I'm like, yeah, I misplaced my ID. So the guy's like, okay, pulls out a cell phone, walks away, comes back with a form. He's like, fill this out. So I start filling it out. He's like, okay, here's his name, blah, 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 all right, okay. And then he starts asking me the questions. He's like, okay, so what's your physical address? All right, and what's the name of the street that your house turns onto? The guy on the other line is verifying. This guy asked me about 15 questions. And I'm looking at the clock like, okay, now I have about 30 minutes to get on my plane. So once he asks me pretty much anything one could ask to verify who I was, he went all the way back to the beginning and started asking the same questions all over again. And I'm just like, guy, I gotta get on this plane. So I fill out the form, they let me through, I go through the metal detector, and he's like, okay, follow me over here. So he's like, okay, stand on this mat, I'm gonna pat you down. And I'm like, okay, cool. So he walks up behind me, and then he says, anytime I get to sensitive areas, I'm gonna use the back part of my hand, okay? Okay. He's like, okay, go ahead and pull up your pants as high as you can. So I'm like, all right. So I take my pants, I don't have my belt on, they took it already. Grab my pants and pull them up as high as I can. And he's like, you know, feeling me up on the sides, and feeling me up on the sides. And then he skips like the lower torso and goes to the waist, and he's like, you know, doing the reach arounds and feeling me up and stuff, and really close to the skin. And then he gets to the sensitive areas, and he lied to me. Dude uses his palm. He's like feeling all up on the contours. He's like, how are you gonna tell me that you're gonna use the backside of your hand, but then when you get down to it, you're gonna palm all of my no-no zone, okay? We just had this conversation like 2 seconds ago. What, you thought I forgot? He's all up in the no-no zone. I'm up here looking like Steve Urkel as all these girls are walking by through security, like looking at me. So I look over to the side, and these guys have all of my stuff from my book bag sprawled out on their table like an alien autopsy. And they're swabbing down everything. They had a little toothbrush swab, and the dude is like swabbing down the pieces of paper. He swabs my palms, he swabs everything. Like he swabs me from forehead to toe. After this guy gets past third base with me, He lets me go over to my book bag. I get over my book bag and there's 2 other TSA agents over there, and now they start asking me questions. And they're like, so what's up, man? We heard you lost your ID. And I'm like, yeah, man, you know, I stayed up all night editing videos, and you know, I saw it this morning, and I think I just misplaced it. All which wasn't a lie, by the way. So he's looking at the clipboard that I have my ID tucked away in. He's like, oh, what do you got all these pens and these blank pieces of paper for? I do videos for YouTube, and from time to time I draw. So whenever I have downtime, like, you know, a 5-hour flight, I like to knock out things like that. And he's like, oh, my son is into anime, and they call it manga or something like that, and he loves to draw. So we're all chatting and having a grand old time. So then he's like, okay, well, we just gotta check one more thing, and then you're free to go. He grabs my bag and he walks over to a cop. And I'm looking, and now I'm starting to get nervous, because I'm just like, I've been through TSA enough times to know, like, this is the last part. And then like, that awkward silence starts setting in, and I'm just like, okay, what can I say to speed this up? I said probably the worst thing anybody could say. I'm sure all you guys watching this video have at some point had something come out of your mouth that you really didn't need to say, and that you really didn't mean to say. It just kind of bleh. I had one of those moments. So I'm looking at the cop, I'm looking at the TSA guy holding my bag, I look back at the other TSA guy. You guys said there's one more step? And he's like, yeah, one more step that we gotta do, and then you're good to go. I'm like, what, did your boy find some bomb residue on my hands or something? As those words came out of my mouth, I was like, you're a noob. What did you just say? No, I mean, I know you guys aren't going to find any residue on my hands, because I mean, you guys just swabbed and you just ran it. There's no way you guys are going to find any residue on me. Do you know where we are? Why would you play like that? I'm like, sir, again, I cannot stress how sorry I am about all this. I need to get on my plane, and it just came out. I totally apologize. The second TSA guy comes back with my bag, and he's like, okay, he's clear. So they start packing all my stuff up, and then as the guy's about to pack my clipboard back in, he decides to flip through it one more time, and he's flipping through it. Halfway through, he stops, and then he looks up at me, and he looks over to his boy and does one of these. And he's like, so, where did you say you last saw your ID? And I'm like, what, did you find it? And he was like, no, tell me where the last place that you remember seeing your ID was. And I was like, oh, I don't want to lie to this guy, so I'm like, bro, please tell me you found the ID. He's like, yeah, it's right here, and it's kind of weird that it was lodged in the middle of all your papers like that. How did that happen? So he's like, yeah, why don't you have a seat right over there? So then, out of nowhere, a cop appears on the scene. So now it's the 3 of them, and the cop's like, okay, young man, walk me through this from the very top. And at that point, I knew the gig was up, because I was not about to lie to no cop. The lady over at Delta told me to hide my ID, so I hid it in my clipboard and came through here, and she said that if I told you guys I didn't have my ID, it would take like 10 minutes and I would just be on the plane. And the cop's like, oh, okay, young man, you stay right here. So then cop number 1 comes back with a second cop. And he's like, young man, you want to explain to me about your comments? What comments? Oh, you know the comments I'm talking about. No, sir, I've made a lot of comments since I got here. I'm not really sure what comments you're talking about. Something about residue? You made a comment about residue? Oh! Yeah, no, officer. And he interrupts me and he's like, if you don't wipe that freaking smile off your face right now, I will handcuff you right where you sit. I was very apologetic. He wasn't having it though. So then he's like, okay, so some lady at Delta told you to come over here and do this, huh? Okay, let's take a walk. 2 cops behind me and 5 TSA people surrounding me in a circle. The cops behind me is holding all my bag and stuff, so it's obvious I'm in trouble. We walk over to Delta and the cop's like, okay, I need you to ID this lady. Then he hops on his radio and he's like, okay, bring her out. The lady comes out and he's like, okay, if that's her, don't make any eye contact, don't point at her. Yes or no, is it her? Okay, let's go. So they walk me over and they sit me back down. From this point on, the cop is just referring to me as my last name. So he's like, Thorn, get comfortable because you're getting ready to talk to the FBI. Yeah. So after about 10 minutes, they pick me up and I get the police escort over to airport jail. The one cop walks me in, and then it turns into like Simon Says. Thorn, walk over here. Thorn, follow me. Thorn, stop right there. Turn, look up, face that wall. Do the hokey pokey and turn yourself around. So, and then the final wall that he had me staring at, I hear metal clinking. He gets his keys out, opens his door, tells me to get in. He throws me into this all-white room, slams the door behind me. And the only thing in this room is a white wall that curves into a chair and a single surveillance camera with a big old red sign that says, "You are being video surveillanced." I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the show Prison Break. I watched seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4 within a matter of like 2.5 weeks. So as I'm trapped in this room, all I'm thinking about is like Michael Schofielding my way out of this place. After my 3 hours, the FBI's there. They escort me into the side room. So it's me, the FBI guy, and a two-way mirror. And instantly I'm thinking like, who the heck is on the other side of that mirror? And this is kind of cool because I always see this in the movies, but I'm probably going to be in a lot of trouble. FBI guy walks over to me and flips open his wallet. And he kind of just looked at me and he's like, puts his wallet away. He sits down and the first thing out of his mouth, "So, you thought it would be okay to lie to a federal agent." I'm like, federal agent? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, all TSA are federal agents, and you lied to federal agents. You thought it'd be okay. So I'm like, well, honestly, I didn't think it would be okay to lie. I just told him I misplaced it, which technically wasn't a lie. So he interrogates me for about 30 minutes, and then he was like, "Okay, well, this is the part where I'm supposed to arrest you." And I'm like, "But you're not going to?" He's like, "Nope. Against my better judgment, I'm not going to arrest you." Am I on like any kind of no-fly list or anything like that? You're good to fly. We did a pretty extensive background check on you. You don't have a police record, but as of today, you have an FBI record, young man. Granted, at this point, I still had no flight to San Francisco. So I asked him, "Sir, is there any way that, I can get my flight to San Francisco now?" And he was like, "Yeah, actually, Delta feels a little bad about this whole situation, so they're going to give you a new flight. But my new flight wasn't until 6 o'clock. Because of all the problems you've caused here today, I have to escort you onto the plane." Alright, now that's kind of dope. Because I know I'm not in trouble anymore. I'm getting an escort. My street cred is going through the roof right now. Boarding time happens. FBI escorts me over to my plane. I hop on. Everybody's happy. Your boy has an FBI record. And you know what has to happen now, right? I gotta release a rap album. It's that simple. Lil Wayne, Master P, Jay-Z, all y'all ain't got nothing on me. I'm on the FBI watch list. Get on my level. Alright, look for it around Christmas time. I gotta go write some rhymes, so I'm gonna catch y'all next time. Look at that, I'm rhyming right now. That means if you do anything at all to alert the attention of the FBI, it's not gonna go well for you. And remember on Twitter, I said Cooper is gonna crash the party. Look who just joined us. Thank you, Cooper. Thank you very much.